Let's
Garden
go.
crew here. Jimmy Toscano, Bobby Manning. All right, let's see what happens. We know, so just to catch people up, we already jumped on the stream, Bobby and I, at around 12, just shortly after 12 o'clock. And at that point, the Celtics had made a single move, and one that was expected to be maybe the first domino to fall, which would have been Evan Fournier coming to the Celtics. It is now 2 o'clock. There's an hour till the NBA trade deadline. The Celtics are everything is as quiet as it can possibly be. I haven't heard the Celtics mentioned in anything in a long time. Last reports we got were that maybe they could be looking to trade big because some teams were interested. You're hearing nothing on names like Lonzo, nothing on names like John Collins at all. No buzz at all.
Nada.
And so right now it is really trending towards the Celtics. It looks like the Celtics might be done. And if that's the case, we'll have to judge this move on its own merit as the only thing that they're going to do this year, which I know is not going to thrill a lot of fans. But I think all three of us actually don't think it's a bad move, and we do think it makes them better now. So, Bobby, you were the most vocal when we were talking about it earlier. Just break down what the Celtics are getting in Fournier.
Well, you're getting a couple different things. You're getting a shooter, first and foremost. He's a rock-solid shooter. Some nights great. Can get to the basket a little bit. Might be able to generate a few more free throws for you. And can be a secondary ball handler off of Jason Tatum, off of Jaylen Brown. This is a guy that has generated 5 free throws a game with Orlando this year on the ball. And he's going to be shooting wide open shots. I mean, he's been a guy that has been keyed in all year with the Magic as one of their top options, and he's still shooting 39%. Defense, there's ups and downs with him. I know Goodman tweeted out that he had a source rate him as a good defender. I think that's fair. And I think what's important to consider, too, is the Magic are one of the worst teams in the league this year. But when Fournier is on the court, they're a net even, which would indicate that they're getting by on both ends of the floor with him better than they have been, with any other options out there this year. He's a really good fit in this offense. He can work on the ball, off the ball. He's 28. And as I said earlier, I think there's some real sense that the Celtics can either move him during the offseason effectively or keep him here long term, which I think both would be good options ultimately. And he's 6'7", which I don't think a lot of people realize too. There's real size here.
And Jimmy, I want your take. I just want to add something to Bobby. 6'7". I don't know if he starts right out of the gate because they have no time to practice and chemistry is going to be an issue. But this is a natural fit in the starting lineup with the two J's, Kemba Walker and a big, depending on who's left on the roster when this is all said and done, but presumably Theis if he doesn't get moved. And that's a much better lineup than what they're doing. And at this point, it looks like Marcus Smart is staying at least through this season. So now you have him in your second unit. Along with who the hell knows what else is really going to go there, obviously, at this point. But Fournier obviously adds that depth. He's also very good on handoffs and pick and roll. So there are different things that he can do. He can score on all 3 levels. I think that's important for this team. 19 points a game in Orlando. For this team, he's really more of a 4th option. So I think this is a guy you can count on for 13, 14 points a night, which, again, we're talking about, and we talked about it, Jimmy, this is this guy versus – in terms of this season improvements, it's Fournier minutes versus Semi Ojeleye minutes, and it's not really, really close at all in terms of offensive production. So, just Jimmy, your thoughts on Fournier?
Yeah, so you can look at it in a few different ways, right? So, in a vacuum, this is a great trade. I mean, you gave up 2 second-round picks, essentially nothing in terms of assets. And you brought in a player who is a starter, is averaging, around 20 points a game, whether or not he averages that in Boston. He's a proven scorer, proven veteran. By all accounts, a good personality. I don't want to say he's a locker room guy because I don't know that, but I'm assuming that he is based on what I've read and what I've seen other people say about him. I think he's underrated. Obviously, playing in Orlando, he hasn't gotten a ton of publicity. I haven't even gotten to do my YouTube highlight reel yet. So I
was going to ask, did you get the all positive tape yet?
I didn't get the all positives yet. I'm working on it. There's less out there than there was for Aaron Gordon. Obviously, you don't have some of those highlight reel dunks, but you're getting a player that Bobby mentioned. I mean, he can score. He's a shooter. He's going to fit in. John mentioned this. He's going to fit in very nicely in this starting lineup as that as that, wing swing type player. So they're going to be able to do more of a traditional lineup there. I think also, and I just retweeted Brian Robb. Listen, they made this trade. First of all, it does make them better, right? That's obvious because he's not a Semi and he's not a Javonte Green and all those guys that they've been signing. He makes them better this year. Where it gets hairy now is, okay, Danny Ainge has gone on the radio and said, we're not going to trade for a player that's in the last year of his deal and that who can cash in the offseason, and we're not going to go over the cap. Well, what do you do with this move? Exactly both of those things. So I'm very interested to see how it plays out from here. I think they do want to re-sign him. I think that's probably the whole point of this, because while it does make them better, it doesn't make them the Nets. It doesn't make them the Bucks. It doesn't make them, these top tier teams. It does make them better. It does make them a tough out for sure. But I think that they're looking further than this year with that deal. Now,
or you sign and trade him and create a what?
Exactly. That's what I retweeted. Just what I retweeted from Brian Robb. They can trade him for another drum roll TPE. Yes, they can do that. So is it kind of like kicking the can down the curb a little bit? Maybe. It's not going to be the same number of TPE, so it's a smaller TPE and therefore less valuable.
Plus your 11 million and that you already
you can't combine them though. You can't combine them.
That's a tricky thing. You got like 5, you got 4, you can't combine any of them.
You do get one, and you don't just lose it. And I know Bobby's been screaming into the camera for the last few months. If they don't use it, they're just going to lose it. So now, theoretically, they could.
You got another year. Yeah.
Open up a new one. Yes. Now, I know that's not what Celtics fans typically, theoretically want, and I don't think it's what we want. And when you're talking about the TVE, I think a lot of fans thought, and we tried to tell them, but I think a lot of fans thought that they could get back this $28 million level player with the TPE. Well, it's not the case. You're going to get somebody's. We use the word junk. I'm not going to say Fournier is junk, but he's a player they didn't want.
A player they didn't want, an expiring deal.
Player they didn't want, and you.
It's almost like we knew what we were talking about, Jimmy.
Right. The only thing we said was that you're going to have to give something with the TPE. They really didn't have to in this case, which is a positive.
No. It was either or, Jimmy. Something for a player like Gordon, which we haven't fully gotten into, but if you don't know the news yet, I'm going to break something to you in a minute.
Right, but, you would need to give
something real for Gordon, or for a player of his caliber, which would have been. You thought, I guess there was talk there. If you see that what the deal was, yes, Denver gave up real things for him. So absolutely, you had to give up something real, or nothing in the TPE for something a team just wanted to get off its books, which they did, and they're fine.
And exactly, and that was Door.
This is the best player they could have gotten under those circumstances. I think the best player available for 2 second-round picks and virtually nothing but a piece of paper.
Right. So it doesn't really necessarily hurt them by making the deal, unless you ended up with a situation where this megastar was available and the TPE that they had before they used it on Fournier would have been the perfect fit for it. Now that's a rare circumstance that might not happen, and that was the risk of holding on to it and doing nothing. So I think people like Bobby are very happy today, because he said it would have been absolutely unacceptable if they didn't do anything today. They did, and based on what we know on the hard cap and the luxury tax and the roster spots, it sounds like, and Bobby, I'm sure you could talk about this in depth, it sounds like they can't be done, right? They've got to do something to avoid the tax.
Well, they're $2 million from the hard cap right now, so there's not much else they can do. They can move something out and still get a player like.
Things out, right?
So that's the question right now.
Still trade for John Collins, who's only a $3 million salary currently right now, but you still have to move something out, and you got to create roster space because they're already over 15. So something's going to happen. I do want to add to Jimmy's thing though, as we say, doing it with nothing, and then Bobby jump in here on all of the cap stuff. This is still, like we said, when Hayward left, the deal became, and it just keeps growing, it was, well, Hayward is really Tristan Thompson and the TPE. So now Hayward has become Tristan Thompson and Evan Fournier.
In 4 seconds.
And you gave up 4 seconds as well. And so Fournier could in turn become something else down the road. So you're going to keep kicking this can down the road. You don't really know at the end of the day. And you're always going to compare that versus Miles Turner and Dougie McDermott, because you think you could have gotten them theoretically. So I don't know. You can make an argument right now. This team might need a Fournier more than they need a Miles Turner. So, in terms of going back on whether that deal should have been made, Turner, yes, was a long-term asset that you could have theoretically done something with. And maybe an
Turner's
all-around
worth more.
more
Turner's worth
valuable
more.
player.
Yeah.
But it's a different conversation. But you're right. Now things get a little tricky in terms of what they can do next, Bobby. And we should tell people, and again, because it's clear, Aaron Gordon's gone. When Fournier happened, you thought the next domino was possibly Gordon. Denver gave him a better package than I think what the Celtics could have come up with, which is RJ Hampton, which you can call that a wash with Aaron Nesmith or Romeo. It's a young unknown. Bobby likes him better. But, I think it's roughly the same. He went 24th. Nesmith went 14th. Neither is doing anything at the pro level right now. So that's a projection. Gary Harris was an up-and-coming or a really trending player who got a good deal, whose numbers have kind of gone down since he signed him, but certainly a better young player than anything the Celtics could have put up there in terms of ready-made NBA talent, and a first-round pick that's probably 5 slots lower than what the Celtics are going to give you. But all in all, probably a more competitive offer than what the Celtics could have given.
Yeah, I was really confused about that one because I didn't think the Magic wanted to creep closer to the luxury tax than they have to. Right. I'm not sure if they're over at this point because of that trade, but effectively swapping Fournier out and taking Harris in is what they've done here. So that works out as kind of a net even salary-wise. So I understand why they did it. The pick isn't great. It's 2025 and it's protected. But RJ Hampton, I think, is the real deal. He hasn't played much this year, so that's why you haven't seen anything from him this year. But he was one of the guys who I was stunned fell in the draft as far as he did. He was a top 10 prospect coming into the year when he went out to New Zealand. He played with pros at 18, 19, which I think is always going to be a tough thing for a guy to go through at that age. So people who were sour on him over that, I think overreacted a little bit. He is just a phenomenal athlete, above the rim player, gets to the basket, handles the ball, all that stuff. Like there's star potential there in him.
Sure, but I mean, again, I think most NBA teams don't view him as any different than Nesmith at this point.
Well, he's a project for sure, yeah.
He's a guy who went 24th for a reason. Some scouts might have thought, or media types thought he was going higher, but he fell. 23 teams passed on him. And he at this point has done nothing because he's not playing.
So my question is here: did the Celtics get beat because Hampton got involved in a pick, or did they get beat because they refused whatsoever to include Smart, which could have gone either way?
My guess is, and again, I don't know about Jimmy if you think differently. My guess is, in this case, they had to view Hampton as a greater asset than Nesmith, and Harris as a greater asset than Smart.
I think it's possible both were true, though, and that Smart wasn't involved and this offer beat whatever lowball.
Right, but I'm saying even if the Celtics
put there,
the Celtics equivalent to this would have been a first, Smart, and Nesmith, which is a fair amount to give up. And I think that this is a better offer for Orlando. So if that was the best, then the Celtics would have had to go into 2 first-round picks or possibly Rob in place of Nesmith just to equal this trade. Now you're giving up the store. So that would have been a ton. I think if the Celtics fans today were saying bye to Rob Williams, Marcus Smart, Aaron, and 2 first-round picks, and they got Aaron Gordon in return, they might be like, ugh, was that good?
This would be a therapy session, I think,
right.
If that was the case. Everyone would be lying down on the couches right now, would be trying to talk to them and making sure that they weren't, going over the edge. But you're right. I think that was a better package. I think the Celtics at the end of the day, and what we've been saying is they're not going to go. Danny Ainge isn't going to go, super heavy on a guy like Aaron Gordon. He's not going to sell everything for Aaron Gordon. He's not going to make a panic move. I don't think this Fournier trade isn't a panic. It's not a panic move. This is, it
was essentially free.
Yeah, this feels like a smart, business decision more than anything else. Then, assuming that they can stand with the tax, and I'm sure that they can figure that out. I'm not worried about that. But this wasn't like, let's sell off, Smart and 2 firsts and, Nesmith and sell low on Langford and all this stuff. This wasn't that. They pretty much have the same. They do have all the same assets they have, minus some of that TPE, to make another trade if they wanted to, whether it's today or in the offseason, whether they want to deal Smart in the offseason, they can still do that. Maybe Fournier makes Smart even more expendable than he was, yesterday. I think that's certainly the truth. If their intention is to re-sign Fournier and deal Smart and bring on maybe another sort of a guard or a point guard. I know we've talked about Lonzo Ball, and I see him in the comments section here, and John would, go he's goo goo gaga over Lonzo Ball.
Gimme.
It's going to happen, but it allows you the options. It allows you the possibilities to still make that happen. Where Bobby was like, trade 7 picks for player X and be done with it. And then you're sitting there
Bobby,
like, okay, this is your team.
Can we admit you might have lost your mind a little bit with these 7 picks? There's nobody's giving for anything available at the deadline.
I never said 7. I said 3.
I know, but I mean,
seriously.
7 100 times. You said 7.
You said, Beal.
You said Vucevic was 3, and he only got 2.
No, I think he said 4. I think he even said 4.
I said 4 for Vucevic, 3 for Gordon.
Can we now see that nobody does that? And like 2 picks is usually the max unless you're going for a superstar player and it's 3. Teams just don't do that. You're not trading first round picks 6 years into the future. It's just 6 and 8 years into the future. It's just not what teams do.
Well, teams do it when they really want a guy, because that puts
Thunder
you
really want a guy.
The Thunder might be able to do it now.
So that's what I was asking about yesterday. Do the Celtics really want Gordon? It seems like they didn't. They were willing to take him for the right price.
Like I said, it's what I mean, look, Bobby, I think I've been saying this from the get-go. In this sport or any sport, again, a good general manager sets a price. If you believe that piece is going to get you over a hump and possibly get you a title, you overpay by 10-20% if you need to. And that's what happens at the deadline. It's always an overspend. But Danny Ainge is building for the future right now. And again, you set your price, you set your value, and you don't go bananas. If he ended up saying, I got to have Gordon at all costs, and like we said, gave away multiple firsts and Rob Williams in this deal, I think he loses the deal. And I think Celtics fans are pissed as a result of it. So again, that's the whole point of drawing that line, is this is what it's worth to me. And if push comes to shove and we're close and we're at the door, that's where you can, okay, I'll give in on this last demand if that's what it's going to take. But just to see to match this deal, I don't think they could get there. I don't think they could have gotten there.
Let's wait and see what they ultimately do to finish all this out. But this goes back to what I've talked about, the cost of not doing something, because does Thompson ultimately cost a first-round pick to dump? Obviously, the baseline here was going to be a first-round pick. So if it was 2 picks and you're able to get Thompson off in a deal like this, that's what you would be doing anyway. And then you talk about Smart's value. Is Smart's value higher today than it's going to be over the offseason? It's certainly possible. So by doing this, do you have to pay more to dump Thompson later? Or by not doing this, do you have to pay more to dump Thompson later?
That's the fear.
Do you get less for Smart? Do these assets start to expire a little bit? And there's even a little bit of talk of Theis today. I told you guys over and over again, the time to deal Theis as a high value guy, and it would be now. And it seems like teams would be interested around the league. Now, I'd rather keep him than Thompson. But if you can trade both and get some other good stuff in here through roster spots, it's a creative way to do it. I still wonder, and Hollinger's been speculating this now too in his athletic piece, how do you get out of that tax? Because the Celtics are 3-6 over now by my estimation. And how do you clear a roster spot for him? He seems to think it's Green, but Green makes what, $1 million? So that doesn't clear you the tax.
No, but you're right. And, it might be Teague also. I don't know if that gets you there. It's pretty close.
A couple other things going on around. I'm seeing that the Raptors traded Matt Thomas to the Jazz for a future second-round pick. They're trying to obviously not unload, but they're trying to get rid of Lowry. So
they're
that
full sales.
Spot.
Selling.
Rondo close to the Clips right now.
Rondo, huh?
Okay.
Rondo close to moving to the Clippers right now. That's something I've seen.
They wanted to do that in the offseason, but couldn't get it done. That would be a good move for them.
So that's it. But again, we are 40 minutes out, and I can't tell you the last thing that mentioned the Celtics here. It is quiet, and it's quiet for a reason. That I think they might be done, and I do think that people, and again, I see it in the comments right now. There's a little bit of frustration in terms of hoping for some sort of magic move. Doesn't look like it's coming.
There's no magic move coming, but they have stuff to sort out here. There's something that at least is going to be worth talking about coming here.
They've got to, they do. Who is most likely to be off the team, Bob? They obviously have to make a roster move.
I said earlier to John, I think Thompson's gone by 3.
I think they're trying like hell. I think, again, I hate to go back and try to claim a victory on it, but the Thompson signing has been.
No, you don't. You don't hate to go back.
Well, no, look, the problem.
Get ready for an apology cam at 3:15.
No, the problem with this will be the earliest apology cam ever. The problem with the Thompson signing is, that TPE is the reason you're hard capped right now, and it really messes with your flexibility a little bit and what you can do. It's a reason why they can't use the full 28 million of the trade exception right now. And as Bobby mentioned, they got to find a way to dump him, or else they're going to have to pay teams for him the same way they did with Cantor. And so you just keep moving assets out to get rid of stuff so you can clear money. And at the end of the day, and again, this is what I didn't understand with Thompson. I'm not judging just his play this year. Even as advertised, if he were close to what people thought they were getting, and let's say he's only 10% worse, 15% worse than what we thought, I just never understood it as a need at all. And so I never really understood the signing, and I didn't think it would move the needle. But now when you see the and I hate that term, but I just didn't think it would change their fortunes very much. But now that you see the tax implications as well, I think that makes it, even worse in this sense, because they're up against it right now. They can't use the full value of this situation of this TPE right now.
Yeah, they thought Thompson would make them really good as a team. Yeah, I thought they had potential to be the #1 defense with him. And for some reason, whether it was regression, whether it was apathy on his part, a feeling that he just had to coast through this regular season and give it his all in the playoffs, or whatever his mindset was, because obviously there's talk of his mindset and commitment and all this different stuff going on this week. There's something up there. It smelled from opening night when he got torched then, and like the next 10 games, it was Embiid scoring 70 in that 2-game series against them.
It felt like it was one game. Yeah,
I think Durant hit every shot against them on switches the second night. Then he goes down with COVID more recently, and it's like, what's going on here with him? Something's up there. I don't know if the KOC stuff that he talked about is the culprit here, that his just head is in a different place. Maybe the lockdown and all this other stuff.
They're capping on that one. Is that right? Did I say it right?
No, but it's the real deal. Thompson,
Kardashian
I think offensively has been what you've expected, but defensively has been as bad as you could possibly imagine. I think he's one of the biggest reasons they've been a worse defensive team this year.
Let's quickly reset the table for people here. A lot of questions in the chat about what can be done still. And so again, Bobby, as you mentioned, they are technically over the tax right now, but they're also maybe a little over 2 million or 2.5 million from the hard cap, which means any moves that they make, they have to find a way to move some money out right now. So that really limits what they can do unless they move a player like Thompson, or it's a bigger deal involving someone like Marcus Smart. And sure, they can move small salaries out to create something. Now, what's realistic and what type of people fit into that thing? Well, I mean, Lonzo Ball, again, theoretically could work. He's a $6 million salary at this point. You'd have to move some money out. John Collins is only making $2.5 or $3 million, I think, this year. So again, theoretically, those names, which are big names that people have thrown around, are still possible. But I don't think it's likely because it doesn't seem like either team is really interesting. The only reason I bring up Lonzo again is as soon as Chicago makes the trade for Vucevic early in the day, which was surprising. And immediately everyone starts talking about now they got to go get Lonzo, which makes me think, Lonzo's for sale. So if he is, and you could move Smart and a pick out there for Lonzo, that's something I would strongly consider.
Yeah, but what entices the Pelicans? Like
the idea that you might not want to invest in him next year. It's an S or get off the pot situation. Like, I'm not going to pay him. Maybe someone else will, but he's not going to be my guy because right now I know I've got Zion and Ingram as my 2.
But they can sign and trade him.
If you lock in Lonzo, that's your 3. And you have these 3 and they're all playing and 2 of them are playing exceptionally well and you're losing.
So what would you stretch to here? If you really want Lonzo, we get back to that. How far are you willing to go? Because I don't think a Smart Ball swap gets it done.
I'm saying Smart
in a
first. And Nesmith, are you in the conversation?
Probably not.
You don't think so?
I think there's value to them unless they're blown away. So say 2, 3 first.
I think I don't know.
2 or 3. Okay, there you go again. 3 first for Lonzo Ball with Smart.
Well, what do you do?
So
you come to the table and you hear 1 first. It's probably not going to be that good as you guys keep saying. You hear Smart. He's probably worse than Ball. Like, are you excited to go do that? Are you going to take the possibility of maybe keeping him for a bargain this offseason or signing and trading him somewhere else into the offseason? I know that there's a little bit of urgency, with moving him since he is that expiring deal, but since you have restricted rights on him, that does give you the leeway to wait.
I think you are. I got to warn everybody at home. When Bobby proposes a trade, take the amount of first round draft picks he includes in them and cut them in half. Okay, and then
we'll do 1.5.
Okay, and then that's closer to the real number. Okay, just nobody be fooled by what he's saying.
All right, so this is my line of thinking here. 1 first, Pelicans say no. 2 first, all right, we'll think about it. 3 gets it done. That's like done. If you really want him, no matter what, it gets it done. Now, in that case, I'd be saying,
you
will
don't
you
want to
take
be
Kemba?
reckless, though. I mean, you can't be reckless.
What if it's 3 first, send Kemba, keep
Jesus,
Smart.
would you stop? Everyone, just stop. Just take a timeout for a second. You can't. No more firsts for you. Okay. If I could just mute one word, you don't get to say first for the next.
In all seriousness, though, on that, I did listen to an interesting conversation with Bobby Marks and Woj that they were doing the other night on Twitter, and they were talking about that trend, which is real, that certain teams in the league have gone nuts with first and driven up that price. Some teams like the Celtics aren't falling into that trap for maybe good reason, probably good reason, because Bobby Marks is on ESPN because he did that instead of being the Nets GM. So there's a huge risk to doing it, but if you want to go all in and really get a guy, that's how you do it. That's how the Bucks got Holiday. That's how the Nets got Harden.
Certain players you do it for and certain players you don't. As much as we want to see the Celtics make a move for Lonzo Ball, I mean, you got to know when enough is enough. You have a worth set in your mind for a guy or on paper like Danny Ainge does for these players. Same reason he didn't give, 2 or 3 for Aaron Gordon. I mean, it might make your team better, but at what cost? You're not trying to take 1 step forward and 2 step backwards and mortgage your future for Lonzo Ball. I mean, we like Lonzo Ball. We think that he would have a good fit on the team, but you still, just because he fits what you have going on, doesn't mean you pay, 30% more than what anyone else would to get rid of him.
Yeah. The tricky thing now, especially with this year's first, if we're just taking it down to 1 first rounder that needs to go, if Fournier makes his team a little bit better, they're back to 18th, 20th, something like that in the draft. 26th even is great if they get back to where they were last year. So all of a sudden then you're saying if you just hold on to this pick or multiple picks down the line, it becomes another Nesmith. And I know, John, you can steal a guy in the 20s. They just did it with Pritchard. But you're probably not getting Kawhi Leonard like outside of once every 15 years in those spots.
Yeah, so, like I said, you're not giving someone just said in the comments, you're not giving a James Harden package for Lonzo Ball. But again, just New Orleans may just have him in their plans, and that's it. By the way, guys, we're rocking with 1,200 plus people in the stream. Keep it coming. Tell your friends. We're here through 3 and then beyond. We're almost at the halfway point here. It's 2:30 right now. We got 30 minutes till the deadline.
Come on, Danny.
Resetting where we're at. 30 minutes.
It's quiet. Okay, so John, you just said since it's quiet, you feel like the Celtics are doing nothing. I feel like it's the opposite.
I don't think it means that.
I think it means things are getting busy.
I just feel by now, and again, it's Bobby. It's not that the Celtics can't keep things under wraps. It's that teams, as soon as somebody gets involved in something, it's in their benefit to leak it in order to get other teams to up the price. So if Boston were close on something right now, it would make sense for someone within the organization on the other side to kind of sneak a piece out there, like Boston making a hard push for Lonzo and then wake up Chicago or someone else and have them come to the table. Not like someone can't pick up the phone and do that, but
yeah, Jimmy's got it. Rondo for Lou Williams is done.
Jimmy, what do you got?
That wasn't what I was going to say, but I did see that. I was wondering Bobby's opinion on Vucevic, the deal that they ended up ultimately accepting to Chicago. I mean, is that a deal that you think the Celtics could have?
That's a good question. Yeah. So
that didn't seem like great, right?
Well, when we first discussed this earlier, John, it seemed like Gordon and Fournier together were going to be an option. So now that it's Fournier or Vucevic, it becomes a lot more enticing. Like it's 17 million versus 22 million, so the money's not that far off. I know it's 2 seconds, which is essentially nothing, but if you could go to the length that Chicago did, 2 first-round picks, I don't think anybody would have had any issues with that. I've said go as far as 3 for Vucevic. So I think that's an easy second guess. I think if you're using up most of the TPE on Fournier and there's nothing left there, that's the direction they probably should have gone. The question is, which we get back to, would you give up Rob for it? Which Rob seems to be the equivalent of Wendell Carter. Rob probably has more potential than Wendell Carter at this point. I think I'm stunned Orlando took Carter. He just doesn't seem to have the upside that people think he does.
Fine. Yeah, he's fine. You know, a lot of people ask.
Clearly he wasn't available. Then that tells me that Rob wasn't available. That tells me that they think pretty highly of Rob, because you can't tell me that they wouldn't have accepted a package from the Celtics that included Rob if that's what they accepted from Chicago.
Who knows? Yeah. As Celtics fans, Jimmy, obviously, you know, Celtics fans tend to overvalue their assets. I think Rob is in one of those cases where I think they're valuing him like accordingly, like appropriately. I think they really view him as a piece at this point, and I think they feel they lucked into it. And I think giving it away now,
and here's the problem I've had with
giving it away.
No. I know, but I'm saying
hunting
now on something where you're like, wow, like, look, I mean, what have we talked about that this team needed to do more than anything is hit on a few picks, right? And, you know, Bobby's pointed out before where you've had Tony Allen and you had, Rondo way back when, and who else hit in the 20s for them recently? Bradley was good. You've had a few hits there, but I mean, a whole lot of misses, and not just misses in the 20s, but misses in the teens where you're more likely to find a player. So if you find someone at 27 who's a core piece moving forward, you got to think like that's pretty freaking good. And that atones for a misfire on a Romeo or a Neesmith or something, because, you know, it's an inexact science at this point. And honestly, you could jumble everything up from pick 15 to 25 or even 40 sometimes. And you don't know where you're going to hit.
Because Fournier, especially to some degree, is kicking the can down the road a little bit. It helps you now. I'm glad they did it. But in terms of consolidating assets and bringing in a real player that moves the needle here, it doesn't do too much to add toward that direction. I know you can trade Fournier later, but his value this offseason is going to be so much less than Gordon's potentially could have been as the next asset toward the next move. So they haven't done much in terms of position themselves for that next deal. And if that next deal was on the table here, Rob for Vucevic, you probably have to think about doing that, especially for how long he signed.
He's an all-star center. He's a stretch big. He fits exactly what the NBA looks for and what the Celtics look for in a big.
Yeah.
To me, it tells me that they really value Rob. I can't imagine why the Magic wouldn't be interested in a deal centered around Rob.
Is there any chance, John, they look at Carter and say, we like him more than...
It's possible. Yeah. That's
really?
The other thing. Again,
well, they are Orlando. That's got them where they are.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just assuming. Maybe both things are true.
A lot of people here mentioning Lauri Markkanen. Now, there was a word that because he's going to be restricted in the offseason, that it might be tough for Chicago to keep him, and that therefore they might be interested in moving him. People interested, look, it's a big four who can shoot. And certainly that would be something that would work for the Celtics. He's making $20 million, folks. So in order to 20 million right now. In order to do this, you have to you got to throw some stuff in there.
He's having a pretty good year.
He's having a good year.
Expected.
Yeah.
So let me put this in perspective. If Aaron Gordon's poor man's Blake Griffin and Wendell Carter is poor man's Al Horford, there is a sentiment that Markkanen is like a poor man's version of Kristaps Porzingis.
A broke man.
So that's what you're getting here. He's having a better year than I expected, and he's 23. He's had a bad coach for most of his career there in Chicago, and now he's having a leap under the new one, Billy Donovan. So I'm not adverse to any idea, but I do think people need to tamper their expectations of what this guy is. He's not going to come in here and be Dirk Nowitzki. There's something that has to be worked out with his game defensively. He comes and goes. He's a little injury prone.
Spacing and shooting, like this is,
one.
Imagine a lineup where you could have theoretically him and Fournier and Tatum and Brown on the court at the same time and go small ball there. You
trade Smart for him.
Well, you would have to at this point. Yeah. It would be Smart and Tristan at this point, right? Just to make the money work. And
then they'd have to send back something too.
Yeah, but I don't know how you make this work with what he costs right now. So it's a tough one. People are talking about it. I don't know what it would take.
Hell if I know. I mean,
have you watched Have you watched his all good tape?
Sounds like the juice isn't worth the squeeze there. That's the type of player I would say, you know what, we're gonna just wait on that. We're gonna wait on,
So I don't love the player, but
assets up for that.
I love the thinking John's doing here. A guy who is extremely cheap to acquire now, who you can keep long term on a restricted free agent deal, develop, and be a core rotation guy into the future. They have to.
He's still a $20 million player.
And guys, I'm sorry, I messed that up completely. It's totally my fault. I just made a quick flash at it. He's restricted. He could be a $20 million player in the offseason. He's only he's a
$6 million now. Yeah,
he's a $6 million player now. So you're right. It would work for Thompson right now. My bad on that.
But that's what he's going to cost, though.
No, but I mean, when it comes to Smart, like, what would they want to value? Because they obviously don't want Thompson, and they want something for this guy. I don't think they're just giving him up right now. And this is another guy that could be brought into this offseason from their perspective. We're thinking from a Celtics standpoint where this really done. You get now, it's not going to work in the offseason. These teams can wait. They can do sign and trades. They can do other stuff in the offseason. So you have to entice them now with real stuff. So is that Langford and Neesmith? Is that multiple first-round picks? Anything that's going to be worth doing right now is going to be a little bit expensive. And this is what we talk about. In-season trades versus off-season trades. Yes, right. In-season's more expensive, but the Celtics don't have a great deal of flexibility this offseason or targets in mind. Who are you guys even thinking about for the offseason? Everyone keeps saying, oh, the offseason.
Don't talk to me about the offseason right now. I have no idea.
There's not a lot.
One deadline at a time, Bob.
There's not. I think the name you keep hearing is Collins, and I don't know how you make that work.
Jaylen Brown?
He's going to get a max.
Huh? What, Bobby? He said Jaylen Brown, and he was banished.
His final words, fittingly, were Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown. No, you don't do Jaylen Brown for Collins.
No, and again, I think I just don't think it's the right time. I just don't think the Collins thing matches them. What it's going to cost? I mean, it comes down to you're going to have to give him a max on top of it all. So really, it's a steep price to pay. Bob, you okay over there, man?
But here's the thing: is if it were Collins, there's no reason to not do it. I guess Atlanta just can't do it now because they're in the hunt. So there's nothing you could do. I guess
that's the problem. It's time to do marketing.
They have to hold on something they don't necessarily want to re-sign. They're going to be in a tough spot this offseason.
There's a disconnect between Boston's urgency and those teams' urgencies. Boston has to do all this stuff now. Those teams can wait, and those teams hold the button on that.
So Lou Williams goes. Is he going straight to Magic City for those wings, or is he going to report?
Oh, what a great move for him! Yeah,
that's a huge move for him. Yeah. What's up, John?
Oh, nothing. Jessica Walter from Arrested Development just passed away.
The
Bluth matriarch. Anyway,
there goes my Lou Williams joke.
We got 20 minutes here.
Like that.
If something big's gonna happen here for the Celtics, it's gonna have to be that 2015 style Isaiah, like 5 minutes to go, mad dash, get it to the fax machine.
That's how it always goes. I mean, there's been years where the teams request an extension on the deadline because they're in the middle of finalizing and working out the details of a deal. We've seen that numerous times where the deal won't even get announced.
Was Perkins very close?
3:15. What?
Way back when? Wasn't that one very close too? The Perkins deal?
Oh, it was
for Jeff Green.
Yeah, there was a deadline, right up against it from what I can recall.
Yeah.
Has anyone, it would be good to get Perkins on one of these shows one day to ask him what that whole, I'm sure he's talked about it maybe, but I haven't heard him really mention it recently, just what that whole experience was like. And, I guess the vibe. We all know
the team was like crying. Yeah. The team was just in agony.
The firsthand experience there, but
that was,
that
was
Ainge's with Marcus
most
Smart. I wonder if that type of trade would do that to the locker room.
So,
I don't think so.
No. Are you guys surprised
not even half as close.
How apoplectic Celtics fans are now? And again, I'll ask you guys in the chat, and most of you are already sharing it on your own. If this is all the Celtics do at this deadline, short of moving out a small piece for, let's say they traded something they don't need just for money purposes. But if this is the only player the Celtics get back, is everybody here really bummed? Because it seems like it. And I'm not. I would have liked something bold, especially if they could have gotten a piece for the future, but it makes them better today. I don't think there's any question about it. Right now, people are pretty down.
Let me ask you this, and ask the viewers as well. Would you have rather done Fournier for 2 seconds or Gordon for Smart straight up? Which makes you better as a team right now?
Which makes you better as a team right now? I think it's the Fournier move because you're not giving up anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an easy one, right?
So that's how people have to think about this.
That's how I think of it too, is you gave up nothing and you're better today versus giving up a lot of stuff. And that's the whole thing. Is yesterday I felt like Celtics Twitter was split on whether they even wanted to give up Smart for Gordon, and if that's what it would have taken, Smart, a first, possibly a young player, for Fournier, for Gordon, and it didn't happen. That was a deal that I think, not just Celtics fans, but and a lot of NBA insiders were like, I don't know if that makes you better if you're Boston. I think it was uncertain. I was in favor of it, but not so much so that not making it happen is devastating. So I'm surprised people are that bummed out.
I think there's a lot of people out there who, and they're not wrong. It's just how they're not wrong at all. In fact, they might be right. There's a lot of people out there that are tired of this product and they want to see a change. And sometimes you just dive in, you make the change, and you hope that, one little change leads to bigger changes and so on and so forth. I think that by trading Smart and getting Gordon, you're obviously losing talent, but you're also gaining talent. So that's different than just bringing on a guy like Fournier without giving up anything. Now, if you bring in on a guy like Gordon, you have him for next year. You consider him a tradable asset too, in the same way, I guess, that Smart would be, because they're similar in the cap, and there's probably similar value overall. And then you ship out a player who has had a lot of great moments in Boston, but who has also driven a lot of fans crazy. Let's be honest, right? So there's reasons for the way fans are thinking the way they are right now. But just to trade, just to be like, oh, I want to make a trade because I want to get rid of Smart. Well, you got to be careful on what you're getting in return and what you're really asking for.
Moreover, Jimmy, I think the key here is Fournier improves you today, and if it works in the future, great, and if it doesn't, okay. But you gave away, as we said, nothing at this point. And then
the TPE is
in
really
the
what you gave away.
There are people on the chat right now who are bummed because they wanted to blow it up. Teams who blow up and rebuild don't do it at the deadline. You do it in the offseason, okay? It's just not unless you are sell.
You're the Magic.
The Celtics are not in sell. If you want to retool, that's something that gets worked out typically in the offseason when draft slots are determined and when you figure out what's going to happen in free agency and needs are very clear and you have the whole slate of NBA teams to work with. You don't do franchise-altering deals unless you are selling it all at the deadline, and that's not what the Celtics were going to do. They're trying to change up on the fly. It makes much more sense to do that in the offseason. So I think being disappointed that they didn't completely rehaul and retool the entire franchise today, I think was unrealistic.
I think they probably evaluate everything, and at this point, 245. I don't think, without any whispers, Thompson's going anywhere. So this is probably their team. They're probably going to give up whatever and find a way to make the tax work by the end of the year. It's going to be tricky. I don't know why they're going to pay tax in this situation. It's confusing, but I'm sure they have a way to make that work. My thing is, this gives the team a chance, and that's all I wanted. Their depth issue's gone. They're going to have a fifth guy who makes sense in every lineup here. They're going to be able to condense this rotation. And just to bring it back to Thompson, if he's going to stick around, if you have a playoff rotation where any given matchup, let's say it's Bam for the Miami, where Thompson worked pretty good. Let's say it's Rob against Milwaukee, who looked pretty good yesterday. That might be his matchup. Theis obviously works in quite a few matchups. You have a pretty complete team here matchup-wise, if they're all hitting their stride, if they're all healthy, to just compete. Just compete in the playoffs, get yourself to a better seed now, quiet down some of the, I think, uncertainty and issues that have been around the team in recent weeks, and really go on a hot streak here and just give it your best shot this season. Right. And then, as you say, address things in the offseason.
Hot streak or not, here's what this trade does. This is another, whether or not this was the intention or not, I think this is going to show a lot of Celtics fans and show a lot of people in the Celtics organization, okay, here's your extra guy that you've all been asking for, not fans, but assume some of the
The
players.
team's
like
been begging for it
Brown.
just in the way they've
Exactly.
played. Yeah.
So here he is. This is what we're gonna find out now what you guys are made of. If you really are one player away from meeting expectations going into the season, or from being that really tough team that we've seen in flashes. If you're not, then we know, and now we can adjust accordingly in the off season when we still have all of our assets and we still have all of our tradable contracts, if there are that many. But you got your first round picks and your second round picks, whatever, your TPE to an extent, you still have some of that. So they brought in a player, say, well, here you go, guys, here's your player, do the best you can. Depending on how what you show us will determine whether or not we're bringing this core back again next season or not. If not, well, you can say bye to Smart probably, and you can start to think about a guy like Thompson and these other players, whether or not they try to move Kemba if they can. You'll start to see that question being asked in the offseason if you see more of the same with this team with Fournier on it.
Yeah, I think right. It's the way to look at it is for the stretch run here, they're adding Fournier, presumably Romeo, which I know you guys don't want to hear it, and
You're
Jeff
not allowed
Teague,
to talk about him.
And Jeff Teague 2.0. And that's what they're coming in with for a bench unit.
Does Teague go on this deal? Do we finally get to end the Teague experience?
Not when it's just getting started, baby.
Yeah, we haven't even experienced it yet.
Yeah.
I think from Keith Smith, per source, Celtics are still engaged in deals, mostly looking to clear a contract and maybe dip back under the luxury tax while opening roster spots for the buyout market. So, kind of what we are.
The only contract that clears the tax is Thompson.
I can't hear Bobby. Did I lose Bobby?
You got me, John?
John?
I have you, Bobby. Yeah. Jimmy, you lose him?
Yeah, I think you lost Jimmy too. So he was saying that the Celtics are trying to offload that contract. Yeah.
One guy that I think, you're talking about that buyout market. I think one guy that is might be interesting is
Drummond.
Otto Porter.
I'm going Drummond.
I'm not.
So yeah, make your Porter kit pitch.
I'm just saying I think that's possible. That's all. I think that's going to be a buyout, and that's a team that they're going to rush. That's someone they're going to rush to.
So that's possible. He'd be a good defensive rotation player. I'd like to have 2 additional wings here versus 1. But if you do have to dump Thompson in this circumstance, I know you don't love Thompson, but he was brought here to do something that still needs to be done come playoff time, and that's go up against bigger bigs, secure the paint, that kind of stuff. I am not opposed at all to Andre Drummond, and I've been one of his.
He'd certainly be an upgrade over Thompson.
Yeah, so that's my point. Yeah. Could he come in here, start most nights?
That's why someone
have a huge role.
Is the reason why no one's going to trade for Thompson.
That's
true. You're going to find better things on the buyout market. Why take on 2 years of a salary here?
So the Celtics have to ask this question: are they going to pay tax for Fournier, or are they going to aggressively try to move off Thompson here? Perhaps not knowing if that's going to be. The Drummond situation is going to be certain, because I know you don't like Thompson, but you probably don't want to go into the playoffs with just Theis and Rob, right?
I just don't think that it matters, and I think that you do, and I think ultimately you're building.
Move Grant back to center. That might work.
I mean, I think you're going to play more small ball lineups with Fournier out there too, because you're going to have more size on the court there, the same way you did when you had Hayward. So I think you can get away with it a little bit. It's just going to have a different vibe to it altogether. So yeah, I think you can move on for Tristan. I think he's just clunky and he just bogs you down.
Is there any chance the Celtics are in on Kyle Lowry?
I don't see how, unless it's Kemba.
Is there any way that happens?
I don't see it, just because it's never been mentioned. So
hey, the stuff that we didn't think Fournier alone was. Well, I guess we mentioned that, but. Sometimes the stuff that's not mentioned is what actually is going on. And we have 9 minutes now. Oladipo hasn't been moved. Lowry hasn't been moved. Stuff's getting interesting.
I am surprised how close we are here to the end of this without a whisper on some other stuff. 9 minutes.
Jimmy, do you see Kyle Lowry being in play?
For the Celtics?
Yeah.
No.
I think Bobby's reached the end of
what are we doing here?
Rope. Yeah.
I'm just
no,
thinking of every possibility here.
I mean, I just saw a couple of tweets that the holdup in Miami is Tyler Hero, and then who was the holdup in LA? There was a.
Well, LA would have to
random.
trade. They'd have to stack salaries. So Harrell's like mandatory. KCP's mandatory. And then they have to decide, do they want to send Kuzma and keep Schroeder and the 2 guards, or do they want to trade Schroeder because he's up after this year? That's a tough decision for them. But I still see Lowry landing with them. I think that's a no-brainer if you can stack together those role guys for one more star.
Right. I think, listen, we say there's 8 minutes left or whatever. Don't forget, it can go a little bit past the deadline if these teams are already engaged. So
I am a little dubious about this whole buyout market thing. We got to be realistic here.
Greg Monroe?
No, that's not the point. Players in buyout players who get bought out do one thing and one thing only. They go to a team that has a decent chance of playing for a title. Otherwise, there's no reason to go. And that's why always the same teams get them, because at that point you've been bought out. You're not really in it for any sort of money. You just want to go somewhere and see if you can, catch the wave to a championship.
Like Troy Murphy.
Makes no sense for a team for the Celtics to. This is just based off the Keith tweet. If they're trying to move salary around and then be active in the buyout market, no freaking way are you going to be successful in the buyout market. You're going to get about the 8th or 10th best available guy there, because who's coming here? This team is not. Looks like they're headed. There's 4, 5, 6 teams here that the players want to go to that have a shot at playing for a title. Boston's not one of them.
Correct. It's just a matter of if the other teams are going to have. I guess they'll just make roster spots available. If you're good enough, they'll figure out a way to get you on. I mean, that's obvious.
So it's not happening here. So again, I think that's
and I don't even know why the Celtics would be. Again, why are they?
Why
are they?
Woj bomb.
What do we got?
No, we don't.
Terrence Ferguson to the Kings. So the Raptors are Terrence Ferguson, Terrence Davis of the Raptors.
Yeah.
So they're clearing. They're clearing roster spots. No, but they now have 3 open roster spots for Lowry.
It's like a water balloon.
Don't misuse the Woj bomb, okay? Because that's like the boy who cried wolf. Okay, we're not going to believe you next time you tell us there's a Woj bomb.
Fair enough. No, but I think it's a precursor to a bomb. They're trying to open those roster spots.
The boy who cried Woj bomb.
Yeah, so Lowry's probably not coming to Boston.
They've been clearing roster spots for the last hour, but they haven't.
Lowry was never coming to Boston, and Boston's never trading 7 first-round picks for anything. Okay, we have to retire some of these takes.
Lowry's probably no. I'm just saying any possibility that's out there. So Lowry's probably going to LA for 3 players then, since they have 3 roster spots now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
how about this? Let's just sit in silence for 5 minutes, okay? In protest for the Celtics not making any other moves.
Moment of silence for the
5 minutes of silence.
Celtics organization.
5 minutes. Can somebody just do me a favor, Jimmy? Make up a rumor about Lonzo and tweet it so I can
tweet something.
I just made up a rumor and you hated it.
Well, I just want to stumble across it on my timeline and be excited for 10 seconds.
John, I don't want to soil the integrity of my journalism.
He'll get that blue check mark pulled.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be fact checked on by the Twitter police.
For anybody out there, you guys can follow Jimmy Toscano at Jimmy_Toscano on Twitter.
You will not get breaking news, but you'll get breaking opinions and a couple of bad one-liners here and there.
There is 5 minutes to go, and 2 guys that seemingly can't still be on their teams, and Lowry and Oladipo are still there.
Oladipo is an interesting one.
Is it at Real Bob Manning?
It's at Jimmy _.
You got it.
_
at Real Bob Manning. Oh, I said Bomb Manning.
Oh boy, Woj Bomb. Well, he is. He's Woj Bomb.
That's my name for the day.
Bomb Manning. Yeah.
Bobby Bomb.
Yeah. You guys can give us a follow if you want.
Yeah,
that's us. Put it in the chats.
Just lost audio again.
Oh, Jimmy. We are now 4 minutes away and not a peep, guys. So again, we'll put in some
this is unreal.
Yeah. It is surprising, right?
It was a good day, though. Celtics did something. There was some medium-sized moves around the league.
Follow me. Follow Bob, not Bomb. Bob Manning. And
Well done.
Yeah,
it's a great way to kill time.
And Jimmy Toscano. Give us a follow if you guys want. Obviously, so you guys know, as we're filibustering here, we're going to kill the filibuster.
Hey, don't say that word.
As we're going to filibuster here until the deadline, we obviously are live after every game. Any of you joining us for the first time, and obviously a ton of people in here are here for the post-game show all the time.
Looks like JJ Redick's into the Mavs.
But after every game, guys, we're live. So subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. We will be live again tomorrow as they take on the Milwaukee Bucks, the new and improved Boston Celtics. We'll see whether Fournier is in. Oh, hold on. I'm being told something.
No Lonzo Ball.
No Lonzo Ball trade. He's staying in New Orleans.
So it looks like who will get him? The Clippers are in the offseason or something like that. I mean, they're in hard cap position too. Someone's going to get him. I don't know. They do have a tough time keeping him there in New Orleans. But
thank you very much, New Orleans, for stringing me along until 2:58. Okay.
Yeah, that was mean.
2 minutes. Couldn't you have just told me a week ago?
John Collins probably staying put too at this point.
Clearly.
This is what we do, though. This is what we do every deadline. We all get our hopes up for all these big trades, and then honestly, I'm surprised that Fournier was traded.
There are people who still think this 1 minute is going to result in a trade.
They're checking their clocks to make sure they're not a little fast.
People asking if Fournier starts. I believe so. But I don't know if it'll happen right away because there's no practices. They basically play 4 games
Fournier
a week.
Start? Put it this way.
He should.
If Brad goes double big, with Fournier on the team, or if he starts Shemi, then we're gonna have some big problems.
Would you consider? Let me ask you this: would you consider Kemba on the bench?
No.
Okay.
He's too good with Theis.
Thank you for asking.
Too good of a passer.
Right. How about Rob, Fournier, the 2 J's, and Smart to start? Better defense, not a bad defensive lineup there as well, and put in Smart and Theis. No, nobody likes it.
Wait.
I mean, Kemba and Theis on the second unit.
Nope.
And then let Kemba shoot 25 times with that second unit.
No, I keep
something different.
No, I
We
think
can try something different, but it's just not going to be that.
The starters have been good, and at this point, the double big's positive. So if you still want to keep rolling with that,
double big is double negative.
Double big is double dead.
Yeah, it probably
double
is.
big anymore.
But yeah, I'm going Fournier because he's a secondary ball handler. You don't want him leading the second unit. Kemba will never go on the bench, so that's not even worth considering. So I like Smart, Rob, that stuff on the bench. That works well.
Guess what time it is, guys? Doesn't mean stuff comes in after 3, and we're going to linger a little bit longer. But it is officially 3 o'clock. I'm getting.
This is where the Celtics turn into a pumpkin. This is like the midnight.
Cleveland Cavaliers and Andre Drummond absolutely are working on a buyout. That happened. Obviously, if he wasn't traded, that was going to happen. So, what the situation is, and we've mentioned Brooklyn as a very likely destination. But that is it, guys. The trade deadline has come and gone, and at this point, the Boston Celtics have acquired Evan Fournier, and that's it for 2 seconds. They didn't make another move. They have to, at this point, if no move is made, they're going to have to just let somebody go to have the roster space. An assumption it's Javonte Green. It looks like they're going to leak into the tax a little bit here, which is interesting as well because they desperately wanted to avoid that. So it is surprising.
I refuse to believe that. They're going to figure it out.
Yeah, you could cut it. You can't make any deals at this point, though. So could you cut a few guys and get under? I don't know. That's kind of weird that they left that hanging there like that. So get ready for repeater tax next year, I guess. That was confusing. Was this about not wanting to trade anybody? It's so weird that they didn't trade anyone in the
They
Magic for
were
this.
close, Bobby. They were so close on so many deals. Well, that's the thing is you don't know the motivation. You don't know if ultimately, it's going to come down to one of two things. Either they don't have anything anybody wants, and that includes
Oh, you know what? I missed this. The Magic got a $17 million TP. So, yeah, there'll be no one going to the Magic.
Right.
Yeah. So, you're right. They have to cut someone, I guess. Who's it going to be?
Right.
Teague? Bye, Teague, finally.
There's a few options.
There's a few options.
I'd rather keep Green than Teague, right?
But when you're saying why did that stuff happen, I think, Bobby, at this point, it's one of two things. They overvalued assets, which I don't believe was necessarily the case. I think ultimately every single swing that they might have taken, the other teams just didn't want it. And that was it. As we said, the biggest fear here was that the Celtics had very few chips, and all they were going to be able to do was trade the TPE to someone for something they didn't want anymore. And that's what they did. And we said that early in the year. And it wasn't a matter, I don't think, of Danny trying. I think ultimately they've got first-round picks that people don't necessarily covet in the 20s, and really no young players of value beyond Rob at this point. So I guess in the next days we'll see like, oh, this was on the table, they turned this down, and people will want to do it and mention it. But I don't know.
Oh, wow. All right, we got one right after the buzzer here. Bulls Celtics talking Mo Wagner, Daniel Theis swap.
There it is. Yep.
I was just about to ask you if you were surprised that Theis wasn't traded today because of the
that
fact
was my
that
big one. You don't want to waste assets. And Mo Wagner.
Wagner,
yeah.
Unbelievable. Okay.
Let's see if they can get that one in before the buzzer here.
No Oladipo traded today. That's kind of.
I mean, what is this? This is just money.
Has to be. What's Wagner's deal?
I mean, he's still on a. Is he on a?
Oh, that's
deal?
right. Yeah, Wagner would be like 2 or 3, right? And then Theis is 5.
This is just straight money. This is just bookkeeping. This doesn't make you better.
But this is what I said, though. It's like I refuse to believe they're gonna. I'm not worried about them taking on a tax for a guy like Fournier.
Well, this. I mean, it's okay. This makes you presumably worse. Today, this is a straight bookkeeping maneuver, at least at first glance, unless you see it any differently, Bobby.
23 years old, former first-round pick 25. Is that the Rob Williams year?
This is his 3rd year in the league, I believe.
Yeah, so that's Rob Williams. So
I guess what you could.
Couple picks before Rob.
He's 6'11", so he had a little bit of size.
I mean, it's more of a big. It's not. This is not a shooter by any means.
Losing Theis would be tough, wouldn't it?
Well, that's what I mean. It's going
to unleash Rob.
It unleashes Rob. So for those of us who want to see it, great. At the very least, now
I want to see it.
You see Rob Williams start for the rest of the year. Miraculously, his hip will no longer be an issue, and we'll finally unleash the full power of Rob Williams, which I support. That being said, Theis is a more valuable piece than Wagner.
I'm gonna miss Theis.
So this team takes half a step back.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss Theis.
Once again, you're giving away pieces just for bookkeeping because everything is messed up with this team.
Did I miss something?
So Wagner 2.8. You split that down the middle. It's like 2.5 in savings. You cut Green or Teague, and you're under that tax.
So who did the Bulls trade to acquire him?
They traded very little. 2 guys I've never heard of for Wagner and
he's
Troy
fine.
Brown.
Look, he's still young. I don't think he's how much is left on his deal?
He's free agent after this year.
Free?
Or it would be option, right?
He's the Rob deal. He's in the same year as Rob.
Yeah. He's got the team option, which has probably already been picked up.
Right. He's not making. Yeah, exactly.
Let me check that because the Wizards could have declined that already, and he could be a free agent now.
The Bulls, you mean? The Bulls.
Well, no, they just got him from the Wizards today.
Yeah, the Wizards.
Oh, sorry.
The Wizards.
Yeah, the Wizards declined it, so
It's
he's a
been
free
declined.
agent
It's
this
off the
year.
books. He's a free agent. He's a complete free agent. This is I know people are saying he's got some potential. This is sure you can re-sign him if you want, but this looks like it's straight bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm.
That's so.
Yeah, he's making
it's
2.1 million this year.
It's not just bookkeeping, but the odds of him reaching Theis's production level this year seem pretty low. Theis was just such a perfect fit for this team, this system, the most reliable big.
This is a backward step.
It is for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, you just hope Thompson starts performing, and he's really gonna have to now.
This was
tomorrow night, guys. You're gonna see 30-35 minutes of Rob. He might start.
He has to start.
Honestly, it's about damn time.
If they start Grant tomorrow, no joke, I'm never doing another post-game show.
Was this the Oakland A's move? Yeah, slides Rob into the starting lineup. Could have been a little of that too. What are you guys gonna do? What are you guys gonna do if Mo Wagner comes in and starts over Rob?
That's it.
You guys will get the fire Stevens line.
How's this for a little trade? Celtics fans will recognize the Hornets are acquiring Golden State's Brad Wanamaker. So,
he did not perform well for Golden State.
Little reunion in Charlotte. They're slowly taking everyone on the Celtics.
I hope that deal is probably gonna go through, right? That's our cap question solved. But man,
does that deal work straight up?
This is a deflating end to this show. One more viewer and we hit 1,600. We haven't hit it yet. Come on.
No, isn't this we were thinking about, man, that's such an unceremonious ending for Smart here. And I'm not going to pretend Theis's jersey was going up the rafters, but he was a really good center for this team for a few years.
The way you talked about him at times, it did make it seem like it was going up there.
This is odd. You talk about like assets and like different moves consolidating on each other to hurt more down the line. They're giving up Theis for nothing here. That's tough. And he's going to really help the Bulls.
Again, when
you know what, Bobby? This is actually
I told you so.
Yeah, this is I was just gonna say it's a little lesson for you, Bob.
But I mean, come on, this is the whole Theis has value. He was literally given away for nothing.
Bobby would sit here on the show and look fans in the eyes and say Theis is a top 10 center and he's gonna get 18 to 20 million next year on the free agent market. He was just traded in a salary dump for Mo freaking
for nothing.
Wagner.
Given away for nothing.
For literally nothing. And Bob was ready to crown him and send him up to the rafters. Truly hate to see it.
We'll all miss him. We all will.
Mr. Oladipo to Miami.
Will we? Really?
There you go.
Here we go.
Probably for a second round pick.
After 3 o'clock, because everything starts to happen here.
No,
so that means so they were like, all right, you're not gonna bite on Lowry, then we'll just go get Oladipo.
Yeah, like is Lowry staying put?
Nothing yet. I mean, there's only one team left now, right? It's just the Lakers. I bet you that's the next one we hear.
I think Adam Silver's gonna have to sit on this and say, we gotta let these teams go another 30 minutes to get what we want done here.
I mean, this is how it works. You call it in.
It's already happening.
A lot of this stuff.
It's like sending in a paper, right? If you get in at 12:15, they might give you some leeway.
As long as you get.
I want to know what Miami's giving up. We'll find out, I guess, in a minute. But
they have to match his money, which is Olynyk probably, and Kendrick Nunn, and like maybe like one more minimum guy gets that done. Houston's not getting anyone for Oladipo in the end here. There's no chance.
So Miami, right off the bat now. I mean, you know, the Celtics and Celtics fans may have thought they improved a bit today, but now look at Miami. They bring on a guy like Oladipo. They're already arguably better than you to begin with. And the whole thing about, you know, Bob, what you said, oh, well, Fournier might be the difference between the 8th seed and the 4th seed. Well, what does that do for Miami now? Oladipo makes them much better than they were an hour ago. And better than the Celtics.
If Oladipo was just mailing in Houston and he decides to turn it up now, if he's truly the player he was in Houston, he's going to be useless for them. because he was
I don't
really
think
bad
he
there.
is. No, I mean, he's not useless. First,
Give me a break with that.
that is
This
Homer
is
talk.
this is a guy you have to account for on the court. And when
No,
he,
you have to.
when
Yeah,
he's
he's
part
probably
of
gonna
a
turn it up a
team,
little bit.
when he's a guy who's not the only guy on that team, he's a huge addition for them. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. He doesn't have to be the A plus alpha. He's another threat and outlet and guy you have to absolutely worry about and defend. And I mean, I know he's having not a great year from an efficiency standpoint, but I think when the expectations are lowered and he doesn't have to be the guy, I think he's going to be good.
Raptors are keeping Lowry per Woj.
Wow, that's.
Bobby,
He had his whole goodbye last night.
Exhale, Bobby.
Yeah, the Prime Minister of Canada over here, Bobby. Your Raptor fan friends should probably be happy, right? I would imagine.
I wouldn't be thrilled. You want to
Everybody
get some
loves
from him.
Lowry. Everybody loves Lowry in Toronto, though. I mean,
That's true. Maybe they can keep him now. Maybe he'll sign a new deal there. That's certainly a possibility. So the Heat probably are a little bummed about that. They probably really wanted him, and Oladipo was their fallback option. And I'll keep saying it. I'll be stunned if Oladipo really changes the tide of things here. When he's been a second, third option in the past, it hasn't been as effective. And I know he's transformed his body and his game since those days in Orlando and Oklahoma City. But he was the guy in Indiana, ball in his hands all the time, doing everything for them. I almost look at it as the opposite from John, like with less responsibility and ability to make plays on the ball there, unless Jimmy Butler just totally cedes it to him, which is possible.
16-42. Wow. There's a ton of people in here right now. Sorry.
jeez. Yeah. We're what was that, Bob?
I was going to say, unless Jimmy Butler totally cedes this thing to Oladipo and lets him be that guy, I think he's going to have a tough transition
No,
here.
why is everything an extreme with you?
Yeah, why are you...
Why can't they both play? What does he have to cede to him?
Did anyone cede anything to Harden?
Jimmy Butler's a classic take everybody else do what you need to do sort of thing, and I'm here when you need me guy. He already
seeds.
Yeah. He's already a give the game what it needs sort of guy. He doesn't have to worry about anything here. That's not, I mean, he's totally fine.
Oladipo is listen, he's had his injuries. He's having an off year. Bobby hates Oladipo for whatever reason, so you can't take everything he says as,
I don't hate him. I'm just being real about what he's done this year.
You literally hate him. You literally said, like, I hate this guy. I hope he has failures for the rest of his life. That's what you said.
I mean, if we're being realistic, he hasn't had a good year since 2018.
He blew out his knee, too. Let's not forget. And I think he's on his way back. He's a two-way guard. He can play, when he is engaged. And I think, listen, you get traded to a contender, that does something to you. You get traded to Houston, Bobby, and see how you feel.
Yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, you get traded to Houston.
Let me ask you guys this question. So, leading up to the deadline right now, there's been a lot of emotional Celtics fans that really wanted lots of things to happen. And along the way, there's a lot of people out there who've said some things that they probably wish they could take back about some players that they now have to live with on this team right now. So, if you're a Celtics fan and you know that there's a great if you're a Celtics player and you know there's a lot of people out there who really were hoping they would get rid of either Smart or get rid of Kemba or get rid of Tristan, and every one of these guys is returning to the team, what's that do to the overall psyche? Like, you were dangled. You know the Celtics tried to get rid of you. You know that nobody wanted you, and you know that you're still here despite the fact that a lot of fans didn't want you here either. And I know this is life of a team in the NBA trade deadline, but here it's not a normal thing, because here normally the Celtics are talking about improving. And in this case, a lot of people are like, get these guys out of here. So here we are right now, and we're moving on with Kemba, Smart, Tristan. And again, different people feel different ways about these people, but is there a person alive? Or, I mean, this entire timeline is filled with get rid of Kemba, get rid of Tristan. And sorry guys, they're here, which means nobody wanted them. That's it, which means the Celtics have to live with them.
Mm-hmm. I'll go. Yeah, I mean, listen, there is some of that. I don't know if, again,
Smart's an exception. Smart was a polarizing guy, but the other guys, everyone was like, get him out of here. Right.
Right. And I think, listen, Danny always does his due diligence. Whether or not he asks too much for these guys is one thing, but it's very easy to be down on this team right now. They've given us every reason to be. The way it ended last season has carried right on over to this season, and I honestly think there just wasn't enough. It just feels like one long season, and there just wasn't enough break between the way it ended in the bubble against Miami to the way this thing started. And I wonder if things kind of carried over for some of the players into this season. I mean, they didn't really have an off season. They didn't really get much time away, and there may have been some, frustrations carried over to this year that we've watched, from the start. And they definitely have flaws. And trading Daniel Theis and bringing on Evan Fournier isn't going to change the bones of whatever the issues are with this team. Clearly, Daniel Theis was not an issue. Like we've talked about, he was, a numbers. That was a business numbers move right there. Bringing in Fournier is a good move because it does make them better, and it gives Danny Ainge another guy to consider in the offseason and whatever. But if you have and maybe it's not as bad as we think or that we've been told. Maybe, if it truly was a horrific locker room and everyone was at odds, Danny Ainge, I think, would work to maybe have gotten rid of, somebody that had more of a say in things like a Smart or Thompson or whatever. Maybe those moves are still to come, but they didn't get it done this deadline. And like we've been saying, it's not often that those types of moves happen. It's just not the time where you make a rash decision that's going to completely alter, your franchise or the path that you're on. If you're still looking to be a contender in years to come and you're not going into sell mode, you don't go crazy at the deadline. So they made a couple of moves, and this is your team going forward, at least throughout the rest of the season. Ultimately, I would be stunned if they, I'd be surprised if they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Very surprised. And it would go from there.
Yeah.
I don't think they could have done anything today to get out of that. I don't think there's anything they could have done today to make them an Eastern Conference contender.
I don't think so either. I'm with you.
If we're kicking around the possibility of keeping an expiring Theis, adding Vucevic to that equation, and keeping Thompson, I know Vucevic would have been a massive upgrade, but it would have been awkward. Theis probably leaves. Thompson's just floating around there, and then you don't have any front court into the future unless you really think Vucevic was the guy of the future.
Daniel Theis is done.
Yeah. So this is buying into Rob too, essentially. As we say, Rob is now the starting center on this team. There's no way around that. And he's going to play a substantial amount of minutes. They're going to ride his rise into the playoffs, and they get a rotation guy in Wagner out of it, save some money. Theis is so tough to swallow, but like you said, it's taken that blanket away from Brad, as Sherrod said. He can't lean on Theis anymore. You got to go all in on Rob here for the rest of the way, and if you sink, you sink, and if you swim, you swim.
The binky is out. The pacifier is officially out of the mouth, and we are riding and dying with Time Lord for the rest of this season, which I'm completely fine with. As I've said, if you're looking to truly make a big splash and keep Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, Rob is your last, really, I wouldn't say your last chance. He's your only real asset that you have to do that. John, would you agree? I mean, if he continues to, if it continues on this trajectory here.
I don't think he's an asset anymore. I think he is a building block at this point, and I think.
But he's still he still has to be considered an asset if a superstar player becomes available. At least maybe they'll pick up the phone now.
But now you're in an addition. Now you are in. Before, look at it this way. When you had a Daniel Theis, you could say, I can live with Theis as my center because they did last year and they reached the conference finals, okay? And you can live with Theis as your center if you're strong everywhere else. So right now, because you're not strong everywhere else, now you don't have that fallback anymore. So if you trade, Theis is gone, and if you trade Williams, now you have nothing in the middle. And then you're going to be a team that's searching for that presence. So yes, while you could theoretically fold Rob into a deal for somebody else, it was easier before to have done something like that because Theis was such a great fallback option. He was a super cheap starting caliber center that fit the makeup of this team with the lineup the way it was. He won't
be super cheap anymore.
And you don't have that anymore. So
his value was listen, he was a good, fine, sturdy player. The value of him was his deal, which you're not going to get that contract next season. So they got out of it. They got a guy
I
like.
don't think it was going to be that much more. Like I said, I surmised it was going to be 2-12. There's not a lot of cash given around
It's
next year.
going to be more than 2-12.
No way.
Yeah, he's getting 9
You think he's
a
gonna
year
get
at least.
only $6 million a year?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
like
think
I
he's
said,
going to get 18, but I don't think he's going to get 6.
look, the Baines. I know Baines has been awful this year, but the Baines deal was about 6 or 7 per. I think that's what Theis is in.
He's better than Baines.
Again, he's better than
can't do
Baines,
anything.
depending on who you are and depending on what team. On the Celtics, when they had no true power forwards either, Theis had a huge value because he was one of their better bigs. When you're stacking him up against other players, you're stacking him up against all 4s and 5s in the league, and you're telling me he's worth 18. Like I said, Serge Ibaka got 10, got the mid-level. I think Theis comes in below that, especially in a year where there's not a lot of cash to be given around. I think he's a cheap and would have been a cheap re-sign. Of course he's better than Baines. What I'm saying is that's the money that a player like him is going to command because he's kind of a niche guy.
I think Chicago could keep him for 10 a year or so, 12 a year. You ultimately have to give a guy a little bump raise to keep him, and he'll probably come to a fair price there.
Yeah,
now, on the open market,
2-12 or 2-14 is what he's going to get.
There's a report that the Hornets want him too.
They want Theis. Yeah, there'll be teams out there that'll give him a real offer. So all of a
good
sudden,
team, no question about it.
Here we go. Oladipo to Miami for 2 names that you know well: Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there you go. Celtics could have had him if they just held on to their guys.
Yeah. No, they would have had to trade Kemba or Smart or whoever else, and that just wasn't worth it. No one wanted Oladipo. What does that tell you guys? The Heat were able to get him for absolutely nothing.
We knew that was happening. We knew he was going for nothing for just salary matching. I mean,
and there's a reason. There's a reason that happened. He's not swinging the balance.
There's a reason Kemba Walker's still a Celtic also.
Well, they could take nothing for him too, which you seem to think is a good idea.
I don't think you could have given Kemba away for nothing.
You don't think the Clippers would have given you Beverly and Morris and whoever? Nope. I think the Clippers would have taken him for nothing.
I don't
Other
think
teams as well.
I don't think you could have given him away for nothing.
Would the Clippers rather have Rondo or Walker?
It's not Rondo or Walker. It's $37 million versus $8 million. Yeah. It's not even close. Nobody's.
But you get a much better player in Walker.
No, not for 30. Not a 6 times better player that chokes you and doesn't allow you to do anything else for the next 3 years. I mean, 2 years.
Yeah, but they're not doing much else anyway. I mean, there were situations, teams that would have made sense from that end. It's just the Celtics would have gotten nothing back, which probably isn't still what they want to do. You can still get 25, 30 points on any given night from Walker, as they did last night.
Yeah.
Man.
You're happy with Kemba, right, Jimmy?
I'm happy with Kemba. I do recognize his flaws, and I recognize the risk associated with keeping him, not knowing where he's going to go health-wise with the knee. But I've already apologized for, thinking that he would never be close to what we've seen him be. And he does have moments where he isn't, but I've seen enough where I'm not concerned about his health right now. I just think that there's a fit issue going on, and I don't necessarily blame Kemba Walker. I blame guys like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for just being impossible to they're just not adapting to guys around them. And think how many guys have come and gone in this span. Stars generally like to play with young guys, and it's just not the case right now.
It's just the money, guys. I think the Celtics, if they could have found a taker for Kemba, would have found a taker for Kemba.
I think they
for sure. That's what I mean. Is I think they would, if they could have given him away in an Oladipo type deal, they would have. So
it looks like the Heat could be adding Aldridge as well, which has been floating around for a few weeks.
Here it goes. The Heat are seen as a contender. The Celtics aren't. They're going to get the buyout guys. The Celtics won't, and that'll be the end.
Yeah. Hey, look, guys, at the end of the day, anybody who gets to go pick where they get to play and money doesn't even matter, they're going to one of 2 places, into New York, to a New York team or to a Los Angeles team. I mean, that's just it. So it's Brooklyn and the 2 LAs are going to, and Miami. Those are the 4 teams that are getting everything right now. So
Miami sounds nice.
I'm interested to dive into Wagner. I don't know a ton about him. Wagner, I guess that's it. he'll be in the rotation. He's not going to start over Rob, but he's going to be important. He's going to have to play something close to Theis's level. Dumping Theis as a money dump. I know you think it's whatever, John, but Theis was a really reliable
I
three.
think the Celtics got worse.
Yeah.
The Celtics got worse in the last 10 minutes, Bobby. There's no question about it.
So Mark Murphy thinks Jeff Teague and Jeff Green are headed out as well in this Daniel Theis deal. So roster spots will be opening. Yeah.
We don't talk about Jeff Green anymore.
With Jeff Teague, I think that combined in Jeff Teague and Javonte Green. So three players going out.
We don't talk about Jeff. We don't mention that. We'll bleep that out.
The Jeff Teague experience is over. And John, it's time to apologize.
Teague is that? Wait, so I wasn't even listening to you. You said Teague just got traded?
Yeah, he's heading up. As well as Javonte Green.
Oh, wow.
So two roster spots.
Can we get a quick moment of silence for Jeff Teague?
That tells
started doing stuff.
Couldn't even get a moment.
That tells you Celtics are going to take a look at some buyout guys now. At least one.
Oh, they're getting under that. They're under that tax.
Look at them like when you go to the zoo, and you look at stuff. You can't touch it. You can't have it. You can't take it home with you. Like, they're not going to get anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I miss Jeff Teague already. Now I'm really upset.
Today just got significantly worse than it was because of losing Jeff Teague. Javonte Green, I think he was probably going to be cut if he wasn't traded. So I don't really.
So that answers my question. I didn't think the Wagner Theis swap got you under the tax. Teague, Green, and Theis gets you under. I just saw Bernardoni float that they're under now, but this deal gets you under 100%, over $3 million. But what do? You just carry two.
Thomas is what you do.
Here, I got a little bit more TPE talk from B-Rob. Celtics will likely create a new TPE with Daniel Theis. They will be able to
using that one.
A little teeny one. They'll
be able to take Mo Wagner or Wagner or whatever into one of their smaller TPEs and create a new one worth $5 million.
I'm going to call him Kurt Wagner. Is that okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Just none of you guys will get it. You have to be a somewhat of a nerd to get it, and I am.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm like a big jock, so
that's okay.
I don't get that stupid nerd stuff. The Star Wars, isn't Star Wars joke?
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah.
So what do? 2 empty roster spots. You just carry that forever. I guess they don't need guys.
IT baby.
Could be Thomas. Could be.
Ooh, let's start.
Thank you. Somebody's got it. The Walrus.
Somebody's what? Oh, the Walrus. What?
Somebody got my Kurt Wagner. There we go.
Let's start an Isaiah Thomas to Boston rumor. There aren't enough of those, so we should start another one.
Yep.
All right. Good day. I'm happy with today.
Are you?
The Theis one's tough to swallow, but I think it makes sense. And you know what? I'm with you guys. If that's how you want to do this Rob thing, have at it. I would have rather dumped Thompson than Theis.
It's not how I wanted to do Rob. I wanted Rob and Theis and Tristan to go out. That's what I wanted. It didn't happen that way.
Right.
All three?
No, I wanted Theis to remain, and I wanted Theis and Rob to be the two bigs.
Oh, yeah. But Theis would have been starting over Rob.
And dump. It doesn't matter as long as you're only playing those two. And that's what you want. Tristan mucks it up by eating into those minutes and causing a rotation. And I'm almost always rather Theis or Rob be in the game than Tristan. So that's mainly it. It was a redundancy and something that I don't think made them better in any real way. It's nice to have a big body in there when you need it, but Thompson was getting beat up, by bigger, more physical centers anyway. So it wasn't making he wasn't making an impact.
So here's the question: when the Celtics play the Bulls again, are Celtics fans going to say Theis is getting screwed by the calls?
So I have not been on Celtics Twitter yet, but I'm guessing like if losing Smart would be like a 10 on the kind of like emotional meter of how Celtics fans feel about their irrationally love their players. Theis is what, like a 6? Like the Theis love among Celtics fans.
Who's a 1?
Huh?
Jeff Teague.
Thompson and Teague are 1s.
Teague is not a 1 for me.
What I'm saying is people love Theis. Love Theis.
Irrationally, yeah.
I'm saying that's what I said on the irrational love scale.
Right.
Thompson's
Yeah, 6 is fair.
Smart's an
6 is
11.
fair.
Tyson's like a 7.
So let's
7.
let's
Some
really
people are
look.
saying 8. Yeah.
Who's
Let's
an 8?
really
Well,
look back on what Theis did.
Romeo's a 9 for you. If they traded Romeo today, I think there'd be a puddle of tears on the floor.
The Romeo era is just about to begin.
That's why
That's a
they're
good point,
they're
John.
creating roster spots here, because they know they're going to get Romeo back.
Just do it. Don't worry about this year. Second unit, Smart, Romeo, Neesmith, let her fly. Just go. Just play Pritchard, Smart, Romeo, Neesmith, and I guess at this point Tristan. Fine.
Oh, thank the Lord
Wagner.
Teague's gone. I don't think I emphasize that enough. Like, finally, we don't have to deal with Pritchard's going to be playing over Teague now, thankfully. We kicked around this little thing for a week.
Sadly, Teague was giving you
Oh,
something.
no. We kicked around that. Oh,
getting
yeah,
to the basket, getting to the free throw line, something nobody on this team does.
Yeah.
All right, great. So funnel him 20 minutes of ball time to get the best of that.
Somebody
There was no way.
Teague was
Semi's
playing the
going
right
out
way.
in the deal too. Is that right?
What?
Is Semi going out in that deal too?
Wouldn't
No,
be surprising.
I didn't see that.
But
Wait,
I
you
haven't
listening
seen
to
it.
the commenters again?
I've seen a couple people throwing out Semi. One of them's my guy Julian here, and he's not a sensationalist here.
I don't see that. I see Green and I see
Okay.
Green.
Yeah, you might have mixed Green and Ogilvy up.
No, he's saying Green and Ogilvy. I'm not sure.
Well, no, I don't know. Aldridge is finalizing a contract buyout. I'm seeing that right now.
Yep, Aldridge, Drummond. I guess Aldridge wouldn't be shocking.
What? What wouldn't be shocking?
As a Celtic buyout candidate. Because again, all of these top teams, they can only buy out so many different guys. If you're looking at Otto Porter, you're looking at Drummond, you're going to look at Aldridge. I mean, how many buyouts per team are you getting? 1 or 2? There's a shot if there's 6, 7, 8 guys out there that they could land somebody.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like Aldridge is in play.
But not just a winner. A guy needs to. The other thing I should say, I'll amend what I said earlier. Teams want to ride the bus, and jump onto a bandwagon and get a title. But there's other guys playing for that next contract that need to go to a situation where they can be used.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's part of the equation too. If you can go and show that you're worth something, maybe that's it. But we'll see. We'll see. Anything else we're seeing here, guys, before we shut it down?
No, the guy that's been kicked around for weeks and weeks, though, is Drummond. And they can't escape that name. Multiple people keep saying the Celtics have wanted him. It feels like he's heading to LA, but now the space isn't there in LA for him. There possibly could have been with the Lowry deal. Miami, the Nets, I guess the Nets are still possible, but Celtics could theoretically start him right now with Theis out the door. Thompson still in the fold. That will be a tough one to get around at this point, but I'll be watching that one. And then if not, you're right, John, Otto Porter would be the guy you look to next. Another wing, a guy who would help quite a bit. Keith
just tweeted Celtics will hit the buyout market with an eye on the 2 guys I just mentioned, Aldridge and Porter. So again, we'll see what that means, and what eye on it means. It really doesn't matter who the Celtics have an eye on. It matters whether or not they want to come here. But those are both names to watch for here.
Yeah,
So,
if you had Porter, Fournier, and Wagner, that's a real good midseason net upgrade, I think.
I guess according
Bobby,
to Jared,
you're trying really hard, huh?
Yeah. According to Jared Weiss, Teague was actually part of the Fournier trade. And he's been told he doesn't have to report to the Magic and will be waived. So
thanks for your services in the NBA, Jeff Teague.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it goes to Gordon Hayward, 4. Gordon Hayward, Jeff Teague, Javonte Green, Daniel Theis, 2 second-round picks for Tristan Thompson, Evan Fournier, Mo Wagner, and that's it. Right? That's what we got?
Guess so.
That's the deal. That is right in line with the deadline. That's the deadline deal right there. Just stamp deadline deal right on that trade.
I'm still getting sent stuff here. Let's see what this says before we wrap it. The Magic will receive. Okay, yep. Magic received Teague and 2 second-round picks from the Celtics. Okay, yep. As you just mentioned there. Yep. Yep, exactly.
They had to actually give second round picks to get rid of Teague with it. It will be straight Wade.
Additional second rounders? No, there were second rounders going there to begin with.
Right. But also Teague.
Okay, well, this is pretty sad if you think about where they were in the offseason to now.
Yeah, but it's better than Ojale, Grant, what we've been going through. I was going to lose my mind on the air here today if we were destined to watch that into the playoffs and the rest of the season, double big. They have a more normal team. Well, Bobby, they have better talent.
Bobby, is it not very clear that a lot of this, again, was about bookkeeping as much as it was improvement at this point? So,
No, Fournier was the improvement. I was happy with that move. And then you got to do what you got to do on the other end of that. Now we just get to see where Rob brings this team. Does he elevate them? Are you guys going to be vindicated?
Defense is worse, Bobby. Fournier is not a great defensive player, and you lose Theis here too. So it's.
But what if Rob solidifies it?
We'll see. I mean, there's times where, again, there's reasons why Theis is a better matchup against people than Rob. So we'll see. Again, positives here. There's obvious positives. Fournier is the type of player that you needed and cost you nothing. Absolutely. Moving out Theis opens up the Rob Williams era, which I think is a positive thing. Clearing out some of these other people like Teague and Javonte means more minutes, hopefully, for developmental players. Right. And maybe it means they're not necessarily worried so much about this year. And again, I would be perfectly fine if they spend the rest of the year playing guys like, the rotation with Nesmith and Romeo and these guys and see what you have in them. If the answer is you have nothing, then you have nothing. But at this point, you risk and lose nothing. You got to find out because you need to find out heading into the offseason what you need and what you want. And if you don't give them a chance right now because you're hunting wins and trying to sneak it, here's the thing. When it comes to tanking is an organizational thing. It's not a team thing. If you play the players that you have on your roster and you just end up losing, that's not bad and that's not tanking. Absolutely play these guys right now. And if you lose and fall into the lottery, that's not the worst thing in the world. And if you develop these guys along the way and they show you something, that's also a pretty good thing. So I'm fine with going with that at this point and seeing what these guys have and putting them in the second unit and just live with it. And if this season ends up being a bust, so be it. It can't be worse than it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I agree with you to an extent. I do think that you don't want to be playing guys that are not even contributing to, positive results or wins, because then you start to get, you might find some issues with Brown and Tatum and Kemba to an extent where it's like, what are we doing here? Play the guys that are going to help us win. We still want to win. Like, we're fighting for a playoff. We're fighting for, if they are actually fighting for any sort of pride that they have, and if they are trying to fight for a playoff spot, you want to play those young guys and develop them, but you're still looking to win games. Now it seems like both are going to have to happen because they are opening up those spots. So if Romeo does actually exist and he is alive and he's not just somebody on strings, and we will actually see him this year, then great. You definitely want to play him over like Javonte Green or a Jeff Teague. Same with Nesmith, same with Pritchard. You want to see these guys in there over those veterans or those guys that you don't necessarily think that they have a long future with this team, or they don't have much value. At the very least, you can drum up some value for some of these guys for the rest of this season, and maybe in the offseason again, you have another, somewhat of an asset. Maybe not a major one, but maybe Nesmith or maybe Romeo are worth a little bit more to a team than they are now, which is basically zero.
A lot of people on the timeline here are really loving Wagner here, Bobby. So
right? From what I hear.
And so you got to consider too, who knows what he actually brings to the table skill-wise here, but it's going from 6'8" Theis, 6'9" Theis to 6'11", real 7-foot power center there in the backcourt. So
he doesn't play huge, and he was a guy who actually shot it before getting to the NBA, but his percentages have not been great. So there's a chance he just fades here.
Mark Murphy, source says backup big Luke Kornet is also coming from Chicago as part of 3-team deal. So another backup big coming in that
great
Bulls deal.
Never heard of him.
I don't know if that's a dude he might just be getting cut. I have no idea. but that's just what Murphy just tweeted. So.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. We've gone a bit. We're 90 minutes here, and I think at this point, I'm confident. We said it at 3. The Celtics were done making their moves, but there was possibly some bookkeeping to come out. We're seeing the extent of that now, which looks like Theis is gone, Javonte is gone, Teague is gone, Wagner is here. So
Luke Kornet's 7-2.
like, huh?
Luke Kornet's 7-2.
Yep, cool.
Wow. Okay. Hey, I want to read this tweet that I got. In summary, Rockets trade James Harden. Rockets get Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, Dante Exum. I don't even know. Radiance.
Kurucs.
Yeah, Kurix. Late first-round pick and swaps. That's a tough.
Kornet went to Vanderbilt, buddy for Neesmith.
That's a tough haul for
who?
Harden.
People are mad at me about Neesmith. Why can't I talk about a guy we drafted 14th and see whether or not he could play? What's wrong with that? Nothing's wrong with it. Come on.
I'd rather talk about Neesmith than Romeo until
Let's
we actually
see if the guy can
Romeo.
play. Let's see if they can play. And if they can't, fine.
Yeah, agree.
Move on.
Kornet's another.
Who do you want to see more? Who would you rather see at this point? You guys want to see more Semi? Have it. You guys can have it.
No, the Celtics are indisputably a better team here. And I think
John's posting comments onto the screen so that he can get mad and then get upset.
No, I think people are we came into the state.
If people call me out on stuff, I don't mind posting it. I'm not trying to hide the comments. People are yelling at me about it. Fine, done.
We came into this.
How many into
this show?
We
came into the show satisfied with the Fournier move. And just because Theis got outwitted and this and that, all of a sudden that sours the day all that much. It's still the same thing. They're a better team. They're deeper. They have more concrete rotations. And they've dumped some of the just unproductive minutes that Stevens has continued to hang on here. People should be thrilled about this day. And
I don't think people should be thrilled.
Pump the brakes a tad.
That's crazy.
Not thrilled, but it was fine. And
this is exactly what you guys wanted.
What I'm saying is, I understand, Bobby. I see it 2 ways. Okay, I think it's not a bad day for the Celtics because I think this was reasonably what they were going to do, which was, and I think Fournier is the best player you could have possibly gotten while giving away next to nothing, and they did it because again, the TPE is nothing, so you gave away nothing, and that's fine. You got a very capable player who's going to help this team now, and then beyond that. I don't know that you got anything else. The rest was just maneuvering, okay? I'm not going to say anything that happened in the last 20, 30 minutes here after that deadline passed makes them better per se, okay? But they're better now. There's some flexibility to do some things in the offseason theoretically. You still have Smart and $11 million worth of a TPE if you want to do something there. I don't know. I mean, Smart now you have to figure out what you're going to do. He's got with his contract coming up. You've got the kids to develop. Maybe they turn into assets. I don't know, but I don't know how you say it's a slam dunk good day, Bobby. At the end of the day, the net haul here is Fournier, which is fine. I think makes them better today, but we don't know much about what this team's going to look like after this season because there's a lot of question marks. I think a lot of people were hoping the Gordon thing, Bobby, was going to make you have something that you knew you could count on for a couple of years, and that would help you give time to reset and decide where you were going to go from there. They don't have that. They're very much changing on the fly, and they enter the offseason not knowing what they're going to be doing, right? Like, you don't know anything here. You have no certainties. You don't know what you do with Smart. You don't know what you do with Fournier. They're going in. They could theoretically lose everybody. So it's really hard to judge this right now.
Yeah, there was a cost to doing nothing, though, and that possibly could have been a significant portion or all of the TPE.
So you lose nothing here. Again, but what you do lose is what Jimmy was saying prior to this, Bobby, all year long was you made this deal now, and it makes you better now, but if Fournier walks and you gave away the TPE, you've now lost that leverage as well to be able to make a trade in the offseason. So if there are trades available and what's standing in the way is money and you gave it away on Fournier, who you're not going to re-sign, we're going to look back on this and say, why didn't they do nothing? So it is
well, what was available?
We don't know. It's really hard to gauge this pressure to do something now. It's the same thing. They used the TP, they used the mid-level on Tristan, and that's the reason they're hard capped, which limited their flexibility to make trades now. So you got to be careful about reacting to something right here because there's there's a lot that is going to happen. And if you end up in the offseason, you're like, we can't make this move because we don't have any flexibility, because we're a hard capped and we can't sign and trade, that people will be looking back.
Ultimately,
why didn't they save the full $28 million? You know,
ultimately, the only moves that would be made down the line or made now would involve Jaylen Brown or Robert Williams. So that's still all on the table. And Rob could potentially become more valuable in the wake of these moves. So you put yourself in a better position there. And as you say, who knows if Rob for Vucevic was even a guarantee? Like Orlando could have had deep reservations about him, concerns, and that wouldn't have got them anywhere.
No, but we're just saying if, time.
That's the only deal that was on the table today. That's the only thing they didn't do.
Whether this was worth it.
That's the point. Is maybe they will find out if they would have been better off making no deals.
If they did nothing, this season would have cratered in a way you would not have believed.
It might still. The hell do we know?
It might still. That's the thing is.
Then you lose your coach. You lose your core players, possibly.
Improving this year was not important. What's important is that you set yourself up to be able to do more things down the road. Okay.
I don't know. The last 2 weeks were spent saying, can Brown and Tatum even get it done, or should they move on from them? And when you get to that point,
that's still a question. Nothing.
I don't think that's a question at all. You're in that camp?
I'm in the camp of I question everything. That's the camp I'm in. And I don't put anybody on a pedestal or untouchable or all this stuff. There are plenty of issues with Tatum, Brown, Brad. You go down the line, and there is a problem with Smart. You can keep talking about these guys. Nobody on this team is LeBron James, okay? Nobody is Kevin Durant, okay? So, yeah, I'm going to question everything and everybody until I'm proven otherwise. Trading for Evan Fournier today, great. You made a deal, and you're better than you were.
You're significantly better.
You're not significantly better. You're just better.
You're a first-round exit still this year because there's 4 teams clearly better than you.
Right.
Now, if you get to 4.
And Bobby, you go on the show and say how awful it is to be stuck in mediocrity. Guess what? All they've done is cemented themselves probably as a playoff team.
Realistically, right. They're cemented as a playoff team, and realistically, they might lose in 6 in the first round instead of 5. Like, it's not a huge difference. The goal was...
Well, now you give yourself a chance, and all you lose is 2 picks from, 16 to 18.
It's fine, but you could lose the flexibility to have used the full TPE for something of value in the offseason.
That's what it is.
So you cannot judge this until you realize what could have been available later, and you don't know, which was always the risk.
As far as $28 million goes, it wasn't there in the offseason. Between the hard cap,
we don't know
what was potentially going to be. I mean, throw a name out there. You almost say no to everybody that would matter. Real, no. Cat, no.
We don't know.
No, the money just didn't work.
We don't know.
We'll find out this offseason who becomes available that would have fit under that TPE.
We won't know.
Theoretically could have been traded.
There's a lot of guys traded today we didn't think were happening.
Right. So
I was the king of the Vucevic train. So if they could have made that happen, I'm obviously frustrated with that. But for some reason or another, Chicago came through there with an offer that Orlando liked more.
Again, they are unquestionably at the moment a better team simply because they acquired Fournier for nothing, and then the Theis Wagner thing is not going to make them depreciably better. But we'll see whether or not in the long run this is a positive move for the franchise, which I think is more important than whatever it is that they've made for improvements this year.
But now you're looking for guys. The other thing is this now. Now you're looking for guys to step up now, right? Like you're looking for Pritchard to step up without – we joke about Teague, but he was giving you some solid minutes and some solid, solid presence out there. You need somebody to fill those minutes. That's one position. You're bringing on a new player like Fournier. There's going to be a little bit of growing pains now with this team. When you can't just stick a guy, just sticking a guy in the middle of a lineup that already is off to begin with isn't just going to be a seamless transition. So it's one thing to add a good player like Fournier. It's another thing to see how they all fit together with no practice and none of that stuff going on. So, yeah, on paper,
I'll say this too. There's a chance for Tristan Thompson redemption, and he needs to get it together. No, I'm not saying that's going to happen. He needs to make it happen based on what's happened here. He was out of town if they potentially could have made that happen, and it feels like no one wanted him. So out of necessity, they had to move Theis instead, and now Thompson's going to lock in.
That's exactly what happened.
he has certainly lost his starting job at this point, rightfully so, because of stuff we talk about off the court, but also the on-court production. So he's going to have to come out with the second unit somehow, find a way to be a world beater, and really make an impact with that unit.
Signing Thompson cost the Celtics Theis, is what happened. And now you question whether or not just would have been better not signing him at all. And the answer is absolutely would have been better.
We'll see. Hopefully this is a wake-up call for him. The playoffs will decide that.
It won't, because it doesn't matter, because this team isn't going anywhere, Bobby. So it doesn't matter if he plays well enough to give them a slight boost in the playoffs. This season is useless. So this cost you Theis. Having Tristan cost you Theis.
That was potentially what the move was going to be from the beginning anyway.
Having Fournier cost you Theis.
It was a 2-year deal and Theis was up.
Yeah.
Having Fournier just cost you Theis, right? I mean,
I still, and you might say they may not be able to go back there, but the biggest reason I supported the Thompson move as strongly as I did is because the lasting image of that Game 6, which the Celtics were in, was Theis fouling out early in the fourth. And they looked at Rob and they didn't believe in him, and Grant ended up playing that game out and he didn't have it either. So if they can somehow get back to that position, guys step up. Fournier is a huge impact, and you get to a matchup where Thompson and Rob now at this point, a stepped up Rob, can be a much better front court than last year. I still believe in that all collectively being an upgrade. I love Theis, but the limitations cost him last year. The fact that he got them to the East Finals was a substantial achievement because they had lost Horford and they had nothing left behind them. But there were real limitations with him, too, that they tried to address with Thompson. And hopefully Wagner will help out a little bit with
John.
You can always re-sign Theis in the offseason. Go ahead.
Do we have the capabilities to put up a Wagner highlight reel and comment on it as we're watching it?
I could, but I'd have to do it from it, sadly, just the browser that I'm on right now.
We'll work that in.
The video's wonky, but we can do it heading into tomorrow, okay?
All right, that works, yeah.
Mo Wagner.
I'd like to – I think Mo Wagner might have cult status possibilities here.
Yeah.
The problem with him is he's been on a bad Lakers team. He's been on a bad Wizards team, and he can't break through. So,
well, now he's on a bad Celtics team, so he should fit right in. No, I mean,
so these guys suiting up tomorrow, that's always the big question. I feel like Fournier should be able to, which is all that really matters here. Thompson's probably still out. So you're lining up against Giannis and the Bucks tomorrow with Fournier in tow and Rob starting and ready to take on that Giannis responsibility and whatever else is required there. This is, you guys want to see 35 minutes of Rob, him starting.
Well,
he has made
we want more Rob. We wanted more Rob, and it sounds like we're going to get more Rob.
No, but at least for tomorrow.
At
least for tomorrow, they're going to need that, unless Grant can step in and play a little bit. Which
he did happen. That's what's going to happen.
He did a good job yesterday, but no, you're getting at least 30 minutes of Rob tomorrow, and all the different things we talk about, whether it's the coverage stuff, whether it's positioning, not fouling, all these little things that they've been able to deal with because he's in a bench role, because his minutes have been limited. That's going to be on display in crunch time. That's going to be on display for much larger segments of games. Yeah, so it's sink or swim now. That's probably going to cost you some games. It's probably going to win you some games in these spots, but he'll be able to work through the flow of it, and hopefully he comes out on the other side, come playoff time, a better player for it. They got, 26 games left, give or take? So this is his time to really get comfortable with that starting role.
It's about time.
Okay, we will see what happens. Again, we are pretty much done. So again, just let you guys know. Thanks for hanging. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channels if you haven't already. This was a massively successful live stream with ton of viewers, ton of commenters. We love all of you. We'd love to have all of you back. This is a big audience here. We do post-game shows after every single game. So by all means, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channels, and you will get notified. Turn on your notifications when we go live. Every single game we're live for at least an hour, usually talking about the games. Jimmy Toscano here, formerly of NBC Sports, Bobby Manning, Celtics blog, Boston Sports Journal, CLNS Media, myself, Josue Pavone, Heavy.com, and CLNS Media. Sherrod Blakely, who everybody knows, of course, also will be heavily involved.
Where the hell is he today?
Sherrod was both were tied up today, and that's totally fine. But we will have all of these guys back for the games tomorrow and throughout the rest of the season. We have an amazing sponsor starting up with us next week, and it's going to be a really cool thing that is also going to involve the viewers and the fans, where you get to chat with us and do different things. So
Nice.
I'm going to talk about that a little bit more next week, which is cool. But we love all of you guys, so thank you. Even the guys who think we're idiots, and I know there's plenty of you out there.
Thank you for that. Yep.
Yeah. So
Got to keep my haters busy. I got to keep giving them a reason to get up in the morning.
yeah, that's fine. Right, exactly. Bobby, I think actually fell asleep.
Yep. He's nodding off. He was up late last night editing our show from last night.
Doing a lot of stuff. So we got a lot of work still to do today. Also, Nick, of course, Nick. Sorry.
Oh,
Nick's
Boomer.
always going to be.
Nick the Boomer.
I wonder what Nick thought of the deadline.
He probably
I'm
slept through it.
surprised, Nick.
No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Nick.
I don't believe this guy hates Jimmy. I believe you love Jimmy.
I know. I think he probably hates me.
A lot of people.
Usually when people say they hate me, they mean it.
There are some strong John haters. There's some strong people who hate me, and there's some strong Jimmy haters in there. Joe Sway's the only guy who's able to keep a mellow reception in the comment section. I've never seen anyone hate Joe Sway.
Well, Joe Sway needs to dive in a little bit. Maybe he needs to get in the mud more.
He is pretty. Joe Sway is pretty lovable, but he's got to get in the mix. Okay, why do people hate us? Because we say stuff they strongly disagree.
Because we're
with.
polarizing. Not everyone hates me, believe it or not. Some people love me. My mom, my dad.
What do I say that's worth hating? Come on. I want to give up a lot of
bad
picks.
takes, just really bad takes.
It's just more like everything you say is wrong.
The way you look, your hats.
Yeah, your Al Horford jersey. I think that gets people off on the wrong foot right off.
Some people want to use the TP on Horford. Would you rather have Fournier or Horford?
Oof. Fournier, definitely.
There you go.
Like I said, I'll always take the wing, and a guy and a 3-level scorer.
Thank you, guys.
before anything else there.
Yeah, I mean, if those are the options, and honestly, not to toot our own horns, but I think we nailed this TPE to a T. No pun intended. We nailed exactly the type of player they were going to get in it, and they did. So that's why we're not. That's Bobby. That's why we're not upset today, because we knew what was coming. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're pumped that they got Evan Fournier. They're so much better today. They're better because they brought in a player for nothing. But I don't think that was Danny's intention. Get better today.
We all came into this saying keep Hayward, and for some reason or another that wasn't an option. I feel like they could have done it if they had the chance to. And then the next step beyond that was McDermott and Turner. I guess that would have been good. They probably would have.
You've already apologized. We've already apologized for being wrong on that.
Yeah, for sure. Because you get 2 rotation guys, and all they got here was 1.
I like lovable idiots.
So yeah,
they
gambled on getting better than Turner and McDermott, and they ultimately didn't. So there's what happened.
I consider myself, like all those crazy investors right now that don't really know anything, but they just keep talking about it, like the Reddit people. That's kind of like me with basketball and the Celtics. I don't claim to know what the hell I'm doing or what I'm talking about, but it's not going to stop me from investing in the team. So that's how I would sum it up, and that's why Rob is Rob Stunk.
Oh man, I'm so glad we get to finally have that full experience now and just see where it goes.
Sean posting comments about himself saying that he's the best, just so everyone
knows.
I
the last 2 I just posted were that John's an idiot and I hate him the most. and go ahead and post this coward. I'm no coward.
So 7:30 tomorrow, the debut of Rob as Celtics starter on ESPN.
Rob Stunk only goes up. Yeah. Oh, ESPN tomorrow. Absolutely love it. That's when he shines.
Yep.
He played
pretty
Rob.
good yesterday.
Doris Burke loves Rob. So if she loves Rob, I love
All right. That's it. We did 4 weeks of trade ideas and screaming and yelling about the deadline, and now we can just talk about the team again. Finally.
What's so funny is I'm sitting here mainlining coffee. I'm the opposite of that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Last few games, I couldn't even really focus on the game.
That reminds me, tomorrow we have our show. I'm opening a pack of Top Shot cards tomorrow on the show, live. So if you are a Top Shot fan, I got myself a pack, and I will be opening it towards the end of the show. So a little teaser. I have no idea what I'm going to get. I have,
So are those I know a lot of those are worth a lot of money, but could you open that and have it be like Mo Wagner?
I looked to see like what cards are available in this pack. I didn't see Mo on it, but yeah, there are some players that you're gonna get that aren't gonna really be worth much. But I could get a Zion Williamson tomorrow for scoring his 1,000th point. Could be low serial number, and I could immediately sell it and make thousands of dollars on it. So
I hope it's not Carson Edwards 8 preseason threes.
I don't know if he made the Top Shot cutoff. I did see a Tatum and a Brown in this pack, so that's possible.
Oh, all right.
Options. And I've never opened one before. I don't own any, and
all right.
to be completely honest, don't
Nightcrawler
care
era
much about it.
begins.
Nightcrawler, is that his nickname?
No, that's Kurt Wagner. That was a reference I made. That's Nightcrawler for the X-Men. His actual.
I gotta get this name right. I'm so bad with names.
Kurt Wagner.
Yeah.
I kind of like I wouldn't mind calling Mo Wagner the Nightcrawler.
Celtics Twitter should have picked it up already. If not, we'll put it out there.
I hope he finds a way to play. There's a real chance he could just never play ever.
We're gonna break down Mo Wagner highlight reel on tomorrow's show too. If John can figure out how to do that, we'll do that.
Oh,
too.
I can. Like I said,
it'll be like remember that TV show something like 3000 where they just would watch awful movies and comment on them. It's like on the Sci-Fi Channel. Damn it, I'm blanking on the name of it. But they would watch like the worst movies in the world and comment on them live.
Yeah.
Like during
the final details of the trade, just to wrap this up, are Wizards getting some guy named Gafford and some guy named Hutchinson. Celtics get Luke Kornet and Mo Wagner. Bulls get Theis, Green, Troy Brown, and like $1 million from Boston.
Yep.
$1 million. Good. Give it to Wick. According to John, he could use it.
No, $1 million is going to the Bulls from Wick.
No. Oh, that's heavy. That's deep into the pockets.
Like we said,
that has to hurt.
Fans are back next week. You gotta buy
fans
tons
are here.
of concessions.
Fans are in the Garden tonight.
No,
Bruins
yes.
game.
Oh, for Bruins, yeah.
Fans are in the Garden tonight, which is very cool.
Tickets aren't like that crazy, like $115.
Since we have you guys, any Bruins fans out there, we have a Bruins YouTube channel, Bruins Ringside, okay? Sign up for that as well. We've got stuff after every single game. And so by all means, check that one out. Also, Patriots fans, a Patriots YouTube channel.
Big Patriots channel.
Ton of content, ton of podcasts, daily content, just flooded with it. So if you have if the Celtics have got you down a little bit and you're looking for a distraction, again, you got the Bruins, and we've got Patriots content, of course, on CLNS Media. We're at the 2-hour mark.
Time to go.
It's hot in this room. I'm sweating, as a couple of people have pointed out.
You look a little red. A little red in the face.
I can't regulate the heat in here. I'm in my office, and I had to close every door because at noon I had 3-year-olds walking in.
Someone was peeking through the window. There was an arm hanging on in the face.
Because I got twins, so if you're wondering, like they're everywhere, they're everywhere. So it's hot as balls in here, so I gotta go.
Was today Greek Independence Day, or was
today
it yesterday?
Is Greek Independence Day.
Anything good? Anything good going on? You got any good food? Or?
I have done nothing but this today. I've done nothing but look at Twitter and talk to you.
Happy Greek Independence Day, and maybe we're gonna get some. We might get some French followers now that we're bringing in a Frenchman.
We like that too. And so we're happy. We got a German. Well, we traded Germans.
We did flipped a couple of Germans today.
We
had a Canadian, and Tristan Thompson remains.
Yep.
True.
So that's good. Again, thank you guys for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night. That's it. This is your Celtics team. We'll see if we see some of the new guys tomorrow. We did get a really sad tweet from Gary Washburn a short while ago. The Celtics all kind of said bye to Theis and Teague and Javonte as they were heading out to practice. They said
Tatum really loved Javonte Green.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough one for him.
I know. So those guys are gone. We'll see what happens, but thank you very much.